What is up, folks? Curious Tanma here. I recently did an online presentation on the topic of detailed application timeline for fall 2021 aspirants who want to do higher education in the US. And although I uploaded all the presentation slides on SlideShare, I have been getting some messages requesting me to upload the recording of the session. And being an engineering student, I understand that going through all the presentation slides by yourself can be very boring, and it is better to have someone to present them to you. So here is the recording of that session. Enjoy. Hello and welcome everyone. I am Curious Tanmay, and today I am going to present a PPT on the detailed timeline for MS in the USA starting fall 2021. And we will be going through the whole timeline in detail. So let's begin. First of all, who am I? So I am Tanmay Patil, aka Curious Tanmay. I am a final year electronics and telecommunication engineering student at KJ Somaiya College of Engineering, Mumbai. I have received admission offers from 7 universities across the United States for MS in electrical engineering starting fall 2020, but because of the pandemic I have deferred my admission to the next fall, and I have received admits from Colorado State University, University of Texas at Dallas, University of Illinois at Chicago, University of Maryland at Baltimore County, and Drexel University, Stevens University, and maybe one more. Portland State University. So actually there are so many universities, it is difficult to remember them. And let's move on. So I love to help international students, and I do it through my flagship show called Talks with Tanmay, in which I bring inspiring study abroad journey people to motivate you and to get your questions answered. And I also write articles on Medium and also post resources on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So don't forget to follow me there. The link to these social media is in my Instagram bio, and my Instagram handle is Curious Tanmay. So why should you listen to me? First of all, I have gone through the whole process of applying to a US university. Right from the start, like preparing for the GRE to getting the I-20 form. And what is an I-20 form? We will be covering it in the webinar. So I have also had the experience of getting admitted as well as rejected. And I should tell you that I have been rejected from Arizona State University and one more university. Yes, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. And I usually like to also show that I have been rejected because these failures are a proof that I have tried. Okay, so let's move on. Through all this process, I have learned a lot about US university application from Indian and American friends, seniors, as well as counselors. And I am going to share everything I learned with all of you for free, and that's why you should listen to me. So let's get started. What we will be talking about today. Okay, so we will be talking about what should be the order of events that you will go through before flying to the US, and that would be in brief, and then we'll go in detail when and from where should you research your universities, what is SOP and LOR, and where and when to draft them, what is the right time to draft them, then whether you should join a counseling service or not, and when to start studying for GRE and where to study from, and then when to book the GRE date and the precautions to take while booking the date, then when to give the GRE and what to take with you to the GRE center, because that is also important, and what are the transcripts and where to get from. These are some confusions that people have. What is a transcript? So we'll be talking about that also. Then when should you give the TOEFL and where to study from? Okay, for the TOEFL we will be discussing that also. Then documents required for US university application, all the documents. then when and how to apply to US universities, then factors to consider while finalizing the university, and then what is an I-20, and what are the documents accepted for I-20, what are the documents you need to submit to get an I-20 from a university, and then when should you go for a visa interview and what they ask in the visa interview. That is also really important. And when should you fly to the US. So if you see, all these topics are arranged in the order of your timeline, how you start from the beginning, right from researching the universities to actually flying to the US. So let's move ahead. And so these will be the order of events till you fly to the US, and we will discuss them in brief right now, and then we'll go into the details. So first of all, you will research all the universities. Then you will prepare the SOP and LOR draft, and simultaneously study for the GRE as well. So you have to do both these things simultaneously. Then you have to give the GRE, and then after the GRE you have to prepare your transcripts and simultaneously study for TOEFL as well, and then give the TOEFL. And after your TOEFL, you shortlist your final 10 universities that you want to apply to, and have all the documents ready for it. And then once that is done, you apply for the shortlisted universities. And after the decisions are out, the university that you want to go to, you will have to finalize that university. And then once you finalize the university, you prepare your documents that are accepted for I-20 and apply for the I-20 form. And then once you get the I-20, you give your visa interview. And once you give the visa interview, you get the F1 visa and you fly to the US. So this was the brief. We will go into the detail one by one. Okay. So the first thing is, when and from where should you research universities? So first of all, you should start researching your universities in February 2020. I know February 2020 has gone, but this is the ideal timeline that you should have for your for applying to universities in fall 2021. Okay, so I applied for fall 2020, and I had started researching my universities in February 2019. Okay, so first of all, US News Global University Ranking is a great source to know which university stands where in the ranking and how it performs as compared to other universities. Also, one good thing of US News Global University Ranking is that the filters are customizable. Like you can filter on the basis of location, level of degree of education, like whether it is master's, bachelor's or PhD. Then you can also filter based on field of study. If you are from mechanical engineering, you can see universities that are good in mechanical engineering, and if you are from electrical engineering, you can also do so. And there are several other filters. So I recommend you to go to the US News Global University Ranking and to get an idea of how your university performs amongst others. Also, consult your college alumni or other professionals who are working in the industry that you want to get into and who have done their education from the US. So because in that way you will be able to get a better view of the university, and also you will be able to get some insights on the university. So also what an important thing is that people usually do not check the official website of the university itself. You should go and search search the university's official website and see what they have, what courses they have, what professors they have, what research facilities they have, non-technical clubs, technical clubs, how is the social life over there. US universities usually have a brilliant website, and I think you should also research universities by looking at their website and going through the website as well. Also, prepare a draft list of 20 universities by April 2020. Okay, so as you start your research in February, it will take time, and I know we have other things to manage as well. So prepare a draft list of 20 universities by April 2020. And although all these months have passed, but this timeline is very much intact and very much applicable to other years as well. So for example, if you want to go to fall 2022, you want to go for fall 2022, you can just replace this 2020 by 2021 for fall 2022. Okay, so so let's move ahead. Okay, after researching your university, so we have passed the February 2020 date, we have passed the April 2020 date, and now in April 2020 we have with us a list of 20 universities that we think that are good. So with that then we look into what is SOP and LOR, because each university requires a SOP and an LOR. So let's look. Okay, so when should you draft SOP and LOR? First of all, you should start drafting your SOP and LOR in April/May 2020. Okay, because these documents require a lot of revision, and that's why it is better to start early. So first of all, an SOP is a statement of purpose. It is an essay in which you state why you want to go to that particular university to pursue your higher education. Okay, so basically in that you include all your life story. How, for example, I am from electrical engineering, so why do I like electrical engineering? Why what events in my life led to me liking electrical engineering? And I also need to justify, I also need to say that this is the reason why I took electronics and telecommunication engineering in my BTech, and now I am going for MS in electrical engineering. Okay, so that is what statement of purpose is. And usually statement of purpose should be very, very personalized, and you should not copy anyone's SOP, or you should not take any chunk of somebody other's SOP. So let's see what is an LOR. So a letter of recommendation is a letter that is written by your employer or your professor, which states that he or she recommends you to that university, and he or she believes that you will have a successful career if you attend that particular university. Okay, so you should at least have 3 letters of recommendation, and also the people who write them should know you from at least 1 year. Okay, so if you have done an internship of 3 months, or if you have done internship of even 6 months, that letter of recommendation mostly won't count, because it is the trust that should be coming out of the LOR. And usually universities believe that LOR should be written by someone who has been in contact with the candidate with more than 1 year, so from more than 1 year. So also you should start drafting your LOR SOP, as I said, from April or May itself, because these documents are really what I can say, it is really, these are really sensitive ones, and these usually get a lot of revision. So that's why to make sure you have enough time to revise them, that's why you should start pretty early, maybe in April and May. So also once you have drafted them, after the first draft, you can also customize these SOPs and LOR once you get the admits according to the particular university you are submitting that SOP to. Okay, and it is really important. It is really important to customize your SOP according to the university. Okay, I recommend you to put at least two professors' names, and at least mention one research project from each professor, and at least mention two research facilities that are available on the campus in the SOP that you are giving to the university. Okay, in that way it shows that you really have interest in the university, and you really have researched that university, and that kind of creates a bond of trust. Okay, so now till April or May, you have your university listed, you have your SOP and LOR, you have started drafting your SOP and LOR, and let's see what you have to do next. Okay, so first of all, there are several ways to go ahead with what you have right now. You have universities where you want to go to, and you have started on thinking and drafting of your SOP. And so the first question comes to your mind is that because everyone is around you is going to a counseling service, and these counseling services exist, whether you should join a counseling service or not. Okay, so first of all, counseling services provide help for choosing universities, drafting SOP, completing online application. They help you while completing the online application, making application courier packets. Okay, so we'll see what application courier packets are in the in the slides that come after these. Okay, so also they also help in visa interview preparation. Okay, so apart from choosing universities and visa interview preparation, I think that these services that the counselors provide can actually ease your preparation, and they can actually help you concentrate on your GRE more, so like you will have the more time to concentrate on your GRE instead of concentrating on these things like drafting SOP or other things like choosing universities. But as I mentioned earlier, you already have chosen your university, and you already have thought of how your SOP will look and how you are going to draft your SOP. So first of all, so the thing is that while preparing for GRE and TOEFL, and also managing your work as well as college, and also studying for GRE, so doing all of these things, and also writing a unique SOP, or that too in a good English, can be really difficult. Okay, but at the end, the thing is that no person can know you better than yourself, and that's why I think that is the main thing that you should keep in mind while deciding if you want to have your SOP drafted by someone else, or if you want to draft the SOP yourself. Okay, so actually there are many resources available on the internet for visa interview preparation as well. So that is also one thing that you can have without joining a counseling service. But the main thing for joining counseling service is, I think, drafting the SOP. But there is a trade-off between this. If you go for a counseling service and you get your SOP drafted from them, depending on the counselor that you choose, the SOP might not be as personalized to you as it will be if you write your own SOP. Okay, so there is a trade-off. So it will be more personalized if you write your own SOP, but then you will have to take out a lot of time for SOP, and you will get comparatively less time for GRE. So that, because you are going to do these two things simultaneously. So these are the trade-offs, and it really depends upon what you want. If you want your SOP to be drafted by someone else and have more time at GRE, that is also fine. But so the thing is that there are not several, some good counselors that really draft personalized SOPs as well. So I would recommend doing your research before taking a decision. Okay, so now let's go on to the next slide. And okay, so right now you have your universities and you have thought about your SOP, if you are going to draft it by yourself or if you are going to join a counseling service. And also you have talked to your professors or your employer for the LOR, and if you have asked them to please start drafting my LOR because it may take time. So all of that is done, and now finally it is the time to start studying for GRE. Okay, so when should you start studying for GRE? It is in May 2020. Okay, so right now in February we did the university shortlisting. In April we did the SOP and LOR draft. We started the SOP and LOR drafting, and now we are in May, and in May you should start studying for your GRE. And where should you study from? Actually, the whole GRE syllabus takes up to on an average 2 months, and it really depends upon if you are a working professional or not, and also it depends upon your learning capabilities as well. Some people ace the GRE within 20 days, and some people require 3 months as well. So it really depends upon you, but on an average it takes 2 months. So if you start in May, say May, June and July, 1 month for buffer. Let's take 1 month for buffer. So if you have May, June and July for studying, then you can give your GRE in August. Okay, so there is actually no need to join any coaching classes. The whole GRE syllabus can be managed by self-study, and solving Manhattan GRE 5LB thoroughly and dedicatedly, I think you would be able to understand all the concepts and get a hang of the test. And if you want to solve more, then I recommend the Princeton's Cracking the GRE book. And these books are really great, and they are a great source of questions and as well as tests. So I also highly recommend Magoosh's online GRE prep, the 3-month GRE prep. It is really worth it, and I used Magoosh's online GRE prep. Also, Magoosh's vocabulary flashcards are also really great. They actually, if you use those flashcards only, then you can also have, I think those are enough for your vocab learning. Also, there is one good book that I think you should definitely check out. It is called Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. This book is really awesome, and I also used it during my preparation. So I think that you should check that book out. And I suggest you to solve at least 15 mock tests before the actual GRE, and make a spreadsheet of when you gave the mock test, in how much time did you complete the mock test, and what were the marks. Okay, and which mock test were you solving? Was it Manhattan? Was it Kaplan? Was it Princeton? And all of that. Okay. So usually when you buy these books from Kaplan, Princeton, they have a code inside them. So if you put that code on their website, you will get 5 online courses, 5 online full-length tests for free, and there is one in-book full-length test in the Kaplan book. And similarly for Princeton, they give 4 online tests and 2 in-book full-length tests. And Manhattan gives anyway 1 free online full-length test. So I'll suggest you try to give as many online tests as possible, because the thing is that at the end of the day, you will be giving the GRE online, right? So there is no point in solving offline tests like in-book tests, but they are good for practice. But when you really need a mock test, I suggest you to go with online tests. Okay. So now you have done your GRE prep, and you have, let's say you have studied for 3 months, and now when to book the GRE appointment, and now you are ready with the prep. So when should you book the GRE appointment, and what precautions should you take? So the thing is this, remember, when I say when to book the GRE appointment, I say when will you go on ETS's website and book for a date, not go for the GRE test. Okay, I'm saying when will you book the appointment. So I suggest you to book the appointment in July 2020. Okay, so because by then you will know what is your standing and how much you know about the GRE, and so that will be the best time to decide for the date. Okay, so the precautions that you should take while booking the GRE appointment is that make sure that you have the same name while registering for the for GRE as it appears on your passport. Okay, it should be exactly same. Okay, so for example, on my passport it says that my name is Tanmay Nitin Patil. Okay, whereas in GRE's registration there are only 2 fields, first name and last name. Okay, and there is a middle name. So usually in Indian passports, the thing is that they have first name as Tanmay Nitin, no middle name, and last name as Patil. So if that is the case, please put the same name over there, first name Tanmay Nitin and last name Patil. Okay, because they don't just read out your name, they check character by character. So they check T in the hall ticket, and they check in the passport. So T matches with T, A matches with A, and they also check space matches with space. So they are really strict in that manner. So that's why please be sure you have the same GRE appointment, because otherwise you won't be allowed to enter the test center. Also, you will lose your money and you won't get any refund. Okay, so also avoid giving the test during a festival, because there might be loud noises like during Navratri, or in Ganesh festival we have this dhol tasha and all those things. So you might get disturbed while giving the test. Okay, also preferably book a weekend appointment. Okay, so during the weekend there is less traffic, at least here in Mumbai, and also your family members will be at home, so you can ask your dad or mom to just drop you to the test center instead of driving yourself, because that can be exhausting. So that is also one thing that you can consider. Okay, so now you have done your GRE prep, you have booked the GRE appointments. It is July 2020, and actually in reality it is July 2020. So anyway, let's move on. So what is the next step? Okay, so the next step is when to actually give the GRE. Like I said, in July you book the appointment. So which date should you choose? Okay, and what can you take to the GRE center? Okay, so the thing is that you should give your GRE in August or September 2020. Okay, so now let's see what you can take to the GRE center. So the utmost important document that you need to take with yourself is a valid passport. Okay, So an expired passport won't be allowed, and you won't be able to enter the test center. So make sure your passport has the validity, and it is the main document that you should have with you while going for the GRE. Okay. Also, take a printout of the hall ticket with you to the center. Usually, this is not usually required. They have your name and your appointment registered in their system, and but to be sure, and just to be like just to avoid any last minute nuisance, it is better to take a printout of a hall ticket with you to the center. Okay. So also it is better if you reach the test center one hour before the starting time of the test, because in that way you have time to settle down. Also, it is recommended by ETS that you be present 1 hour before the test, because they require you to be present in the testing center 1 hour before, and they do not tolerate any if you are late to the test center. Okay. So also transparent water bottles are allowed inside the test center. What I mean by transparent is transparent, not translucent. You won't be able to take any green colored or pink colored Tupperware bottle inside the test center. No, because that is translucent, that is not transparent. Okay. So you can take Bisleri bottle inside the test center with the sticker removed. If you have the sticker, they will make you remove it. And also I suggest you to take some food with you. By food I mean snacks. Please don't take some biryani or anything like that with you. So I'll suggest fruits. Take fruits with you, and I recommend bananas because they are a source of instant energy. Also, you won't be allowed to take the snacks inside the testing area, and you will have to keep them outside the testing room. Okay. So you can also take notes to the center. I do not recommend this, because I think that on the testing day you should be relaxed and you should be absolutely calm. No need to do anything at the end. Okay, no need to revise anything. Just be calm. And I also recommend you to book the GRE appointment such that it is in the morning. Okay, so you will wake up, you will have your breakfast calmly, and you'll go to the center. And also it will be on a weekend, so there is no rush. There is your dad or mom who will be dropping you to the center. Everything is calm, perfect, and no need to revise anything, and just give the test with your pleasant mind, and that will be the best thing. Okay. So also obviously you won't be able to allow to take your bag and notes inside the testing area. You will be given one locker, and you will have to keep your things inside that locker. Okay, you will be allowed to take the locker key inside the testing area. Okay, so by August or September you have given your GRE. Okay. The thing is that after giving GRE, there will be a button saying show scores or something like that. I actually don't remember what that button exactly says, but basically when you click that button, you will get a temporary score. Okay, your GRE, your quants and verbal score, you won't be given your AWA score. Okay. But these are unofficial scores, and usually unofficial and official scores are exactly the same. But the scores that you get after your GRE immediately, those are unofficial scores, and after 1 week you will get your official scores along with your AWS scores. Okay. Also, when you get your unofficial scores, you have the option to send these scores to certain universities for free, and you can send them to 4 universities for free. So the list that you have, the list of 20 universities that you made in February, you can choose any 4 universities that you feel confident about, and put those universities over there in the free section of GRE. So you can send your GRE scores to them for free. Okay. So now let's move on. You have given your GRE now, and let's say you also have your official scores after 1 week. Okay. So what's next? Yeah, you need to prepare your transcripts now. This is also important because preparing for TOEFL and simultaneously preparing for transcripts is also important because we need to have all these documents ready right after you complete your TOEFL. Okay, so first of all, let's see what transcripts are. Okay, so transcripts are your mark sheets from all the semesters that you have completed till the day you have given your GRE. Okay, so where can you get them from? You can approach the university's administration office, and they will guide you to the right person in authority. Okay, so usually some universities take a lot of time to get these transcripts ready. They usually take 2 months or so. There are some universities, so I suggest you to order your transcripts as early as August 2020. Okay, so the moment you give your GRE in August or September, just go and order your transcripts. Okay, and also some universities take fees for these transcripts for getting your transcripts ready. So that is okay. You'll have to give the fees, so there is no option in that. But if your college is autonomous or university, or it is a deemed university, then maybe things can be different, and you can get transcripts for free as well. Okay, so yeah, this is a really important thing that every transcript should have your college's stamp and the dean's signature on it. Okay, and also it should be sealed inside the envelope with stamp on every flap of the envelope. Okay, this is really serious, and this has to be followed very seriously. Okay, because transcripts are very sensitive documents. Okay, so now you have your okay, so now you approached the university, and transcripts are getting processed and all those things. Meanwhile, you study for the TOEFL. Okay, and when should you give the TOEFL, and where should you study for TOEFL from? So first of all, give your TOEFL 1 month after your GRE. Okay, so remember we gave GRE in August or September 2020. Now take 1 month and give your TOEFL in October 2020. Study for 1 month for TOEFL. So first of all, TOEFL, so start TOEFL preparation right after your GRE, and usually TOEFL syllabus gets covered within a month. Okay, so there are several free resources for TOEFL available online. No need to join any TOEFL class. Yeah, as I said, YouTube is also a great free resource for TOEFL preparation. So these are the YouTube channels that I recommend for TOEFL preparation, and they are Noteful, TOEFL Mastery, TST Prep, and TOEFL Resources. These are superb YouTube channels, and I did my complete TOEFL preparation through these 3 channels only. I did not spend any money, and these YouTube channels are enough, I will say, for TOEFL preparation. Okay. Also, TOEFL results will also be out in 1 week after you give the test. They are not, the results are not available immediately, and there is nothing like unofficial score for TOEFL. It takes up to 1 week to get your scores ready of TOEFL. Okay, so now what we have is we did the 20 university shortlisting. In February, we thought about SOP, LOR drafting, whether we should do it on our own, whether we should ask someone from counseling services to do that. And then we also booked the GRE. We also gave the GRE. Then Now, where are we? So yeah, we are in August. We gave the GRE by August or September. Then we asked for transcripts. They are being processed. Now it's October. We studied the whole of September for TOEFL, and now we are somewhere in October, and we have given the TOEFL, and we have studied for the TOEFL as well. And within 1 week, our results will be out. Okay, so let's move on. What do we have next? So with all the main thing, the meat that we have for the application being done, we now have to see that what do we have to get in place, what do we have to collect for doing the actual university application, what are the actual documents required for the university application. So let's see, we need the official GRE score card. We already have because we gave the GRE. We need the official TOEFL scorecard. We also have that because our our TOEFL scores out now, and we are right now in October 2020. Remember that. Okay. So then we also have the sealed and signed transcripts from the university that they have come, and now we also have our SOP ready by October 2020. Remember, you need to have your SOP ready. You have to have your 3 letters of recommendation ready. We also required resume for university application. So keep that in mind as well. Work on the resume as well. Also, we need that passport copy. Okay, we have that obviously because we gave the GRE by showing the passport itself, a valid passport. And then we also need a portfolio, although it is optional. It is not really a thing to be worried about, but you can also give your portfolio if you have won a lot of competitions, if you want to show your certificates and your projects, so you can do in the portfolio. Okay, so first of all, now the major thing is that with the lockdown in place and all these things happening around us because of the COVID-19, the thing is that drafting your SOP won't be hampered. I don't think that would be hampered. But the thing is that whether the professors will be willing to write your LOR in such situation of pandemic, because obviously there is a lot of mental stress going on right now, and there is also a lot of things that these people have to be worried about. There is a small chance that it will be difficult for you to get the LOIs from the professors because when in normal situation professors are only in college and you can just go to them and say that I am applying to these universities and they require LOR. Can you please give them to me, and will you be willing to write an LOR for me? Then maybe they will agree, but I hope. But in the situation of this pandemic, I hope the writing of LOR is not hampered and you guys get the LOR very easily. I hope that. Okay, so now let's move on. We should have all these things, all these documents ready. Okay, now how and when to apply? Okay, finally we have all these documents ready, and now it's the time to apply. So as I said, we have to get all these documents and get over with TOEFL and all those things, make these documents ready till October 2020. Okay, and in October 2020 we will apply for fall 2021. Okay, so yeah, get your applications ready and start your university application by October 2020. Most universities accept online application, so it is not a big deal that travel restrictions are in place and planes cannot have intercontinental or country travel. So I'm sorry, I'm not sure inter or intra, but basically planes cannot travel across countries. So, but anyways, it won't matter because most universities have online application, and so all the documents that we spoke about in the last slide have to be scanned properly through the scanner machine, and please avoid scanning by mobile. Okay, and we have to upload them on the portal. So some universities also require you to type your SOP in the portal. So that is also one thing. Also, some universities might give you a questionnaire, and you have to fill that questionnaire instead of giving them the SOP. Okay, so that is also one thing. So what you will do is the SOP that you have drafted, you can copy paste into their portal, and also you can copy paste the relevant thing under the questions that have been asked in the questionnaire. Okay, so also what the universities do is that they mail the professors or employers, whoever are your recommenders, they mail these people a link. Okay, so these people then have to click on that link and then upload their resume. Sorry, not resume, their LOR. Okay, so you cannot upload the LOR. It goes straight to your employer's or your professor's email ID, and they will have to upload the LOR. Also, you don't have the right to see the LOR that they have written. Okay, if also this is what I can say. This is the choice of the recommender. If he says that this person has right to view the LOR that I have written, then you can view it. But there is a small check mark. If that professor clicks that check mark, then you don't have the right to see the LOR. Okay, so let's move on. And yeah, I highly recommend you to complete your application before the priority deadline. Okay, there are multiple deadlines, but the earliest one is known as the priority deadline. And as the name goes, priority deadline means if you apply to that university before that deadline, then you may have a priority over others. Also, there are certain universities that require you to send the hard copy of the documents to them through the mail. So there are certain universities, but in this time of pandemic and with all the travel restrictions and in place, most of the universities have switched to online. So no need to be worried about that. Okay, so we have done with the application. Everything, the application is over. Everything is over, and we are now waiting for the admits to come. Okay, it's October 2020, and we are waiting for the admits to come. Now let's see. Let's consider that we get the admits we mostly get the admits in December or Jan. Okay, no, sorry, not the admits, the admission decisions. Okay, so yeah, as I said, you will receive the admission decision from the university by December 2020 or January 2021. Okay, so it can be a reject or an admit. Okay, so you'll have to finalize the university that you want to go to before a certain deadline that is given to you by the university. Okay, so I recommend you to finalize the university by February 2021. Okay, and there are certain factors that you should consider. First is the coursework, the most important thing while choosing a university. Please go to the university that you feel has the best coursework made for you. Okay, then the type of universities, there are several universities: private universities, public research universities, and private research universities. Okay, so not all the universities are research universities, so I would recommend you to go to public research university or private research university. Okay, also consider the tuition fees. Obviously it should be cheap, so that should also be one thing to consider. Okay. Also, the location matters, but it is not that important, because wherever you go in the US, you are already in the US, and the company pays for your relocation. So it actually doesn't that much matter for where your university location is, but it is also a factor that you cannot ignore. Okay, then the research opportunities are really important. Then scholarships, graduate assistantship, research assistantship, teaching assistantship. So talk to the people that are already over there. Talk to their alumni. Talk to the university representatives, and ask them what is the probability of getting scholarship, research assistantship, RATA, and also check their website for scholarships, because they usually list the scholarships on the website. And also ask the university alumni or people studying over there, what is the probability of getting an on-campus job. Okay, so these are the factors that you should consider while finalizing the university. Okay, now you have finalized your university. Now you need to give your I-20. I'm sorry, you need to give the documents that are required to receive the I-20. Okay, so first of all, what is I-20? Okay, let's see what is I-20. So I-20 is a document that states that you have been admitted to a certain university, and you have the finances to pay for it. Okay, so basically it helps you to get the F1 visa. Okay, the document actually states that we need this candidate in the United States because he has been admitted to our university, and he has the finances to pay for it, and that's why it is a kind of document that will help you in the issuance of your F1 visa. Okay, so what are the documents accepted for I-20? Okay, let's see. So first of all, I'd like to say that for getting your I-20, you need to prove that you have enough finances, you have enough money to pay for 1 year of cost at that university. Okay, so you need to prove that you have that money. So you can prove by showing your savings account, by showing your salary slip, by showing your educational loan document, like by showing that you have been granted the educational loan. Okay, so the educational loan document is the most popular one, most common one that people usually show. But if you have enough money stored in your savings account, or if you have that kind of salary, then you can also show that. Or usually there are also some universities that accept savings account, salary slip, as well as educational loan document, like an addition of all three. Okay, so yeah, so we have got the admit, we have decided the university that we need to go to, and we have also got the I-20 form. Okay, so yeah, the thing is that in order to submit the financial documents to the university for getting an I-20, you need to again scan them the way you did your SOP and LOR and upload it to the portal, and then within 7 days you will get your I-20 mailed to your home, okay, in hard copy. Okay, then you take that I-20 form and then you go to the visa interview. Okay, so first of all, you need to book the visa appointment, just like we booked the GRE and TOEFL state. Okay, so when should you go to the visa interview? Which date should you be choosing? Okay, so I would say that go in May 2021. Okay, so it was Jan when we got the admit. Then it was Feb 2021 when we finalized the admits. Now it is the time to go for visa interview. You will get your I-20 by April, and or March, doesn't matter, but you should book. But you should go for the visa interview in May 2021. Okay, and what they usually ask is the visa interview usually takes up to 7 to 10 minutes, and the questions are usually general. They are asked to make sure that you are a genuine student and there is nothing goofy around you, and there is nothing there is you are a clean student and you are a genuine student. And the interviewer has the right to go through your social media from the last 5 years. They can check your Instagram, they can check your Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, anything that you are a part of. And from the last 5 years, what you have been posting on that and all the stuff. So if you post some violent content, racist content, terrorism promoting content, or if you have some really bad that you have said about the United States, or if you show any qualities of being a very violent citizen or very bad citizen, then they won't. I don't think they will be able to give you the F1 visa, because who would want such a person to be their citizen? Okay, and yeah, this is what I said. Also, if you have criminal records, you won't be given the visa. Doesn't matter about the depth of the crime, I guess, but you shouldn't have any criminal records, nothing criminal records. And if you have been arrested for any kind of reason, then you should tell the interviewer, because if otherwise they find out by some other way, then you would be in trouble. So even if you say you were protesting against the government or against anything, and the police lathi charged you and arrested you, then this also counts, and this may be a reason that you won't get the F1 visa. So be very, very careful of your actions. And so yes, finally the time has come. You have your F1 visa in the hands, and it's the time to fly. Okay, it's the time to get your dreams come true. So when should you fly to the US? I'll suggest July 2021. Okay, so actually I was about to fly in July 2020, because obviously I had got these admits for fall 2020. So actually right now I should have been in the United States. But anyway, I recommend you to fly in July 2021, and the reason is that the F1 visa allows students to land in the US 1 month before the start of the semester. Okay, so I want you to take the advantage of this benefit that we have and land 1 month before the start date, because that will allow you to be ahead of your peers, have an on-campus job. Like, you can start searching for on-campus jobs even before your peers land in the United States. So you have a higher chance. You will be able to settle in. You will be able to find some good housing, and you will also be able to start building your reputation with the professors. Okay. So classes usually start in fall, so you can fly in July. And I really recommend you to check your university start date before booking the tickets. Okay. And with that being said, you will be ready to turn your dreams into a reality. Okay. So thank you, and be curious.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful and that you liked it. And if you really did, then please smash the like button. And if you want more such videos from me, please consider shattering the subscribe button. That's been it, folks, for this video. Catch you guys in the next one. Until then, be curious.